talking. Let's play.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Underrated Podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss movies that we think are underrated, underappreciated, or ones that have just slipped under the radar and passed most people by. My name is Derek McDuff, and I'm here with Ariel Ortiz.
Hello.
And Alan Torres.
Hey, what up, everybody?
And together we are the Undercast Company. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Battle of the Sexes, a 2017 film loosely based on the sporting tennis match that took place in 1973, I want to say. But yeah, and the film is directed by Valarie, Faris, and Jonathan Dayton, and written by Simone Beaufoy. It stars Steve Carell and Emma Stone as Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. This pick was my suggestion. So have either of you guys seen it before?
No, I haven't really wanted to see it.
Okay. Yeah,
I had heard of it, but that was it.
Yeah, it was a movie that it did, get kind of, it was promoted pretty heavily, but it kind of disappeared after it came out. It didn't have a huge budget. The budget was only about $25 million, but it just did not do well at the box office. Only made internationally $18.6 million, so big box office bomb for this one. But I was curious what you guys thought about this movie on your first viewing here.
You want me to go, or you want to go? All right, I'll go. Yeah. It was okay. I didn't really enjoy it too much. I like the tennis aspect of it, I guess. It just like it, and I would, but the thing with that surprised me is that I didn't feel as like I didn't dislike Steve Carell's character as much as I thought I would, and I disliked more Bobby King's character, just because of the whole like her having an affair with her husband, essentially. Like, I understand, you're finding yourself and stuff like that, but that's still like, you could find yourself or that it's going on that road and kind of like, like break up with your husband or, tell your husband. I think like in the end, it said that he was basically kind of like acted as her beard for a couple more years. And then, when things were okay for that kind of thing, rightfully so, they were able to break apart, but still be friends. So I enjoyed like the whole the whole battle of the sexes and the fight for women's equality in tennis and things like that. But just it was just a random thing that like I wasn't expecting to basically have like kind of sympathize a bit more with Steve Carell's character, just because of like he's essentially is like a serial like gambler, and he's the kind of like more, he's not as destructive because the thing is that he always wins, essentially. So that's kind of like those kind of gamblers are kind of like the ones that like they like he says in the Gamblers Anonymous of like, I win, all of you guys are just losers, like I win, I don't know why I'm here and stuff like that. And yeah, so I felt for him a little bit. Billie Jean like King, the whole aspect, like I said, of like fighting for women's equality and things like that, I felt was really a really good thing, and fighting for all those rights, and I respect that for her. But yeah, just the whole cheating on your husband kind of thing didn't sit well with me. But yeah, like it because tennis is like that kind of game of like golf, where you don't really think about it, but there are really actually some pretty good stories that come out of it, and so from that aspect, it was a pretty good sports movie and a historical sports movie. And one thing that I do want to say is that the characters that kind of stuck out for me in this one were the two Larrys, so Larry King and the another Larry King, not the Larry King that we commonly know
That I
of,
thought, yeah.
Oh
and Larry
my! Oh,
and Larry Riggs. They were the MVPs in this movie because they are basically the people that stuck with Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, and essentially, were the kind of more moral compass for the two, and like their confidants in a way, and like are like kind of like the Jiminy Crickets, the Pinocchios, So I enjoyed them. I was, uh yeah, that's why I texted you guys. I'm like, both Larrys are the MVPs in this movie and stuff like that. So for me, it was an okay movie, and if you're looking for like a sports movie, it's definitely one. Yeah, so if you could put it on your roster to check out.
Yeah, dude, I love this movie. I liked it a lot. Like, I think I'm secretly like a sucker for like historical sports movies,
hmm
but I think they have to be competitive. Like just like Rush, that another podcast that we've done before. You
hmm
guys should look out for that. I'm a big fan of like the whole tournament stuff, and like I was just really like excited. At first I was kind of like, all right, a sports movie. I kind of was going man. And then the more I was watching it, I was like, oh man, like I was at the edge of my seat. I wanted to know more. I was like, dude, like everyone, the acting was great. Emma Stone was amazing. Like she was a great actress in that. Steve Carell, I'm not a Steve Carell guy. I don't care for him at all. I know people dick ride him for The Office and all that, but he was surprisingly good in this too. I was like, damn, and then even at the end of the movie, they show like photos of the real Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King, and I was like, whoa, like he looked exactly like him, and like just his antics and everything. Like there's a where like instead of training, he's fucking around and he's doing photo shoots and dressing up and messing around with sheep and like all that stuff. And I was like he transformed. Like for a moment, I was like, this is not Steve Carell. Like I thought that if anything, I think this is one of his underrated performances. Like I
Oh
thought he
yeah.
knocked it out of the park. Um, I do agree with Ariel. Yeah, the cheating stuff isn't great. It's unfortunate, but it kind of I don't know something about it. Like it didn't bother me as much as like other films that we've reviewed before. Like I was kind of more like I don't know. Like it didn't bug me as much, but I felt horrible for Larry King because like he was just a total sweetheart. Like he was a quintessential like nice guy you want to like marry and everything. Like he was so supportive and like there was even times where I'm like, bro, just fucking yell at her, like fuck her. And then he's just like putting the ice on her knees and he's just like, all right, I'll see you later. And I was like, that actually hurts a lot more. But I was like, get it, King. But hey, but yeah, just everybody knocked out of the park. Like I love the pacing. It wasn't like slow. Like I was constantly like just going like yeah, like it just getting to the point. Um, yeah, and like I always kind of joke around with some of my buddies about like animes. I'm always like tournament arcs are the best. I love tournament arcs and anime. So as soon as they're like a tournament coming up, and I was like, all right, I'm in. I gotta see it. I don't know. I need to see. I need to see them go Super Saiyan or whatever in the tournament. But but yeah, man, I really liked it a lot. Like I was kind of like sneaking off watching it at work, and sometimes my coworkers would be talking. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like I'm trying. I mean, I can't say I'm watching it at work, but it was great, man. Like I dug it a lot. The story was great. I don't know much about the real people. Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs and all that. Like I don't know their story, so I'm just going off of what I saw. But yeah, like the story was interesting. It totally grabbed me. I love the whole, pushing for equality, like all that stuff. Like was great, and I love one of my favorite moments is when, right at the end, Billie Jean is just like kicking Bobby Riggs' ass in like the first two sets, and like all the women stand up and are cheering, and and they're just like, yeah, fuck yeah, like we're getting it. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like it was, I really dug it a lot. Like I don't know, I think I secretly like sports biopics apparently, but yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
I don't know what else I could say, man. Go watch it.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, Alan, because yeah, I definitely have the same kind of feelings about like sports biopics. And I kind of talked about this on Rush too when we talked about that, but I do feel like sports biopics work as opposed to a lot of other biopics, like particularly music biopics, because sports
Mm-hmm.
biopics, like they're telling this real story about somebody's life, but it's usually just like it's a season or it's like a game or it's something a tournament. So it does have like a natural arc and a natural like conclusion, whereas like how it's like when it's like it's like the story of like Ray Charles or something, it's just like and then Ray Charles lived the rest of his life, like this has like okay,
Yeah.
well this is the story of the battle of the sexes, this event that happened, Billy Riggs and or Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King like came and like played each other and then that's the end of the movie. That's like there's nowhere else you can end the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it and I obviously because I picked it, I fucking love this movie. Billie Jean King is just like a hugely like inspirational figure. I think like she's all the stuff she's done for like women's rights and like LGBTQ rights and like all this stuff. She's just been like a champion of the people. Just she's so instrumental in like I think she was like pretty much one of the first like queer major sports figures in the world. Even to this day she like you have like what's her name, Court, the Australian
The
tennis
arm.
player. Like she actually in real life is she's like that. She's a shitty person even till like 2017. She was super against like gay marriage and like same sex marriage and like she said all this fucking dumb shit about like apartheid being cool and stuff like. So like she actually was a shitty person. But then like you have a character played by Bill Putnam, who is just like like he's like an old school guy and he's kind of misogynist, and you have like Steve Carell, who's like as Billie Jean says, like it's an act for him, like he's
You
just
say
putting on
Bill Pullman?
what's his name, fucking
Bill Pullman.
Is it
whatever,
Pullman.
those two guys. I
He's
never
a
I always
real-
get them confused.
Bill
They're
Pullman.
both good actors.
You should respect the president of the United States.
I was about to say, I was like, it's the president. Don't say that.
They're both great actors named Bill. I respect both of them. But anyway, yeah, but like it's he's actually like a sexist, whereas Bobby Riggs is just kind of like, I'm a male chauvinist, and it's just kind of part of his shtick. He's like it's like a 3-ring circus with this guy. It's kind of all this act and stuff, and I really like how she's like, you know what, like this is fucking like it's business, and they managed to like stay friends and stuff like that throughout their whole lives. And I just wanted to kind of circle back to what you guys were talking about, her husband Larry King, and that is one of my favorite parts of the movie because I feel like they do portray it at him and like the whole thing with Billie Jean and her coming to grips with her sexuality in like a realistic kind of like interesting way that doesn't like try and like cherry like tries to try to like smooth anything over and it's like yeah like she was doing this, and like a worse movie would either make Larry King a shitty dude or just kind of like have him just kind of disappear, him be that classic Baxter character. But in this movie, like you really feel for him, like he's like a character you really do care about, and he's long with her that whole way, and you feel bad for him, and you are a little angry at her sometimes, and she's angry at herself. She's like crying and stuff, and I think that the best moment that he has is when he's talking to the hairdresser. I forget the character's name, but and he's like, we're both sideshows, like we neither. He's like, I'm not your competition. The real love of her life is tennis, like, and he realizes that. He's like, yeah, she might be fooling around with this girl, but like I've never been like her real love. Her real love has always been tennis, and I like that it does portray him as a complicated 3-dimensional figure who is there supporting her, because real Larry King was a lot like that. I don't know too much about him. There's a little bit of controversy and stuff like that, but he was kind of the one who introduced her to kind of like women's lib and stuff like that in the first place. So he's a pretty cool guy. I really like that character. In a worse movie, he would have just been played by James Marsden, and he would have like been gone after the first act. But yeah, I really, like you said, Alan, sports biopics are fucking great. I love that tournament aspect, and just funny across the board, great performances. Because it is funny, but it does manage to have a lot of weight to it. Both Emma Stone and Steve Carell did get nominated for Best Actor at the Golden Globes, Best Actor and Actress at the Golden Globes. Unfortunately, didn't at the Oscars, but I think they absolutely fucking killed it in this movie. And yeah, one of Alan. By the way, have you seen the movie? What's it called? Foxcatcher.
No, but it has Steve Carell in it, right? Like they're like it's like a wrestling.
Yeah,
kind of.
It's another kind of
It's
sports biopic.
It's a dramatic movie.
It's very dramatic. It's it was for Steve Carell's kind of first movie that was more dramatic, because I think he is one of those actors who, after 40-Year-Old Virgin and The Office came out, got really typecast for a while. But he's kind of been breaking out of that with roles like this or Foxcatcher. A lot of other stuff where he's kind of able to show this other side to him that, he is a lot more, while I do, appreciate those early comedic roles that he played, I do appreciate the other things he's able to bring to the table that he might not be as well known for. Yeah, if you guys if anybody out there is listening, you just know him from The Office or from Knocked Up or whatever, go ahead and check, or not Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin. But yeah, just check this movie out because it is really good. Even if you're not a sports person like Alan's not, I think this is a movie that really does work because it does tell a very human story. I'm a really big tennis fan. Until the end, there's not really very much tennis at all in this, but it's still so gripping to me emotionally, and just everything about it. It's made me so when I first saw it years ago, I was I knew a little bit about Billie Jean King, and I was I've got to find out way more about her. I love this, and I love just sports biopics in general. I think we talked about a lot. Just they work. They really work.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and going off of
agree,
and going off of the Steve Carell talk, essentially, if you're basing your idea on Steve Carell from The Office, which I don't really care for, I recommend actually just there's a bunch of different movies that he's broken out of that kind of type of character. I mean, one of my favorite performances of his is Dan in Real Life, which was a fairly early movie after Office. He might have
2007.
Yeah, 2007. That's actually one of my favorite performances of his. So I would recommend that too. Of course, Emma Stone, has, besides this one, has had a bunch of different movies that, besides the, staple La La Land, you have Easy A and all those different other movies that show her chops, and Birdman, and so definitely I mean, at least for the Steve Carell, he is an actor to actually watch that's created some really good movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Emma Stone fan.
Oh yeah, dude, she's great. I mean, yeah, like Ariel said, Easy A, and then they just released the Cruella trailer, and so I'm kind of excited to see how she does in that, because I did not even know they were making a Cruella film, and when I saw that, I didn't really get to watch the trailer very well. I just kind of saw some parts of it, and I was all right, I'm probably only going to see this because of Emma Stone.
Yeah.
So that's really my only reason to watch
sidebar with Cruella, and people are saying, oh, it's a continuation of all these redemption movies for characters. I don't think Cruella I don't think Cruella is gonna have it, because Cruella is kind of renownedly, even amongst villains, when it comes to villains, kind of she was a really bad person who goes after puppies, kind of thing. So yeah, I was telling you guys about the Twisted Star Kids production of like she pops out. It's like a bunch like this medley with a bunch of different villains of like them saying like I was just wrong, wrongfully viewed and stuff like that. And she's like, I just wanted to make a coat out of puppies, and they're like, ew, what's wrong with you? So just that's my tangent on Cruella. I really think that they're gonna just show her like descend into madness kind of thing. So yeah,
she's like the Joker with like the villains, where like they have like the Injustice Society or something, and like Lex Luthor and Cheetah and all these villains are like, yeah, let's do this, and then the Joker's like, let me join in. They're like, fuck off, dude. They're like, you can't be part of that. You're too crazy. That's Cruella is like Disney's Joker. They're like, you want to kill puppies. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't need to see another like, oh, Maleficent, she was actually nice, I don't need to see any more of that shit. And so I'm really hoping, what you guys are saying is right, and that it's just like Emma Stone being fucking evil. Like I'm so down for that, because I really am usually not a fan of the Disney remakes. I'm just kind of like, they don't need to exist. But if it does manage to actually do something different, then I will be excited for it.
I enjoyed the Maleficent films. I mean, they're fun popcorn movies just to watch. I really liked the first half a lot of the first one.
When she was actually kind of
she
evil.
was like evil. And then when she started being like redeemed, I was like, all right, because I was root for the villain. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool. But I'm always down to watch these like villain films too. Fuck it.
Yeah. Before we completely wrap up, since we were talking about sports biopics, if you guys were going to make like a sports biopic or just a biopic in general, what would do you have any idea what you would want to make it on? Like what person or what story?
O.J. Simpson.
Shut the fuck up, Junior.
The bro came in with the O.J. Simpson.
That's
already been made, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know. I would think like trying to think of.
I could go first if you guys want. Let's take first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be real. I probably don't know. Like I'm not a sports guy. I only tune into soccer every 4 years for the World Cup, so that's the most sports I get. So go for it.
I mean, if I had to make one, I'm a really big fan of Andy Roddick. So another tennis would be another tennis one, and I really became a fan of his in the 2009 Wimbledon match against Roger Federer. And for some background for people who don't really know tennis that well, Andy Roddick was like this great American tennis player. He won his first Open in 2003. And then right after he won his first Open, like Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal came on the scene, and those guys just like won every major for like 20 fucking years. And like eventually Novak Djokovic started too. And it was like nobody else could win anything. Until 2009, Andy Roddick, he's the only one that won US Open. He's never won Wimbledon, which is the one Open that's more prestigious than US Open is Wimbledon. He's finally, after like years of being like second, third fiddle to Roger Federer, his ultimate rival, he plays the greatest match of his life. He actually outplays Roger Federer. He wins more points, but he ends up losing the match. And it's just like such a heartbreaking, beautiful story that like, it's just, I think it would be really good. Just kind of like this ultimate movie about like almost getting there and just like trying your hardest and still like not letting it destroy you. And like, it would just be really cool. And I think,
he's not the tennis player. He's not the tennis player that like basically throw fits, is he? Kind of bald one.
No, that's John McEnroe you're thinking of. I love Johnny McEnroe too. And I need to see Borg versus McEnroe, another tennis movie, where Shia LaBeouf plays him, and that's perfect fucking casting, honestly. I need to see that movie, but so like you said, Alan, it's kind of like Rocky, but for real life and for tennis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess like I even though it's still early, after his tragic death, I wouldn't want to do it like now, but in the future, like a Kobe Bryant, it'll probably happen eventually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like one of I think it was I can't remember what podcast. It was our Patreon, where we were talking about like our favorite things of the year. And for me, I said one of my favorite things was the last season, and like just like similar to what Derek had said about that kind of story, to just like there's so many stories like that in
You mean
sports
you're talking
history.
about the Last Dance?
The Last Dance, sorry, yeah, The Last Dance, and there's just like finding that kind of story. I mean, like some of the best sports movies like Remember the Titans and sports biopics and things like that. It just been like kind of like that, yeah, that fighting against hardship and stuff. I mean, like in recent history, she'll probably go down in history in tennis is like in Naomi Osaka, and like probably like yeah, like her coming through, and especially like probably that her first win against Venus, who or Serena, who was her her idol and stuff like that. That probably would make a really good movie and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, for sure, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything from you, Alan, or do you want to just have me wrap this up?
I think hilariously enough, I think there was a World Cup where there was this whole, I can't remember, it was like Mexico. I can't remember who Mexico was playing, but it became like this Mexican meme kind of for a while. I don't know if you guys remember, people were like, no era penal, no fue penal, it wasn't a penalty or whatever. And it was like this whole thing where like there was a penalty or something like that, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. And like, I just remember every like Mexican fan like could not get over it for like, even after the World Cup was over, like Mexico fucking got eliminated pretty like fairly, maybe midway. But it was such a big deal that it was such a scandal that everybody was so fucking upset about it that they're like, no fue penal. I would go to parties and people are like drunk as hell, and then someone just brings up, hey, what about the World Cup? No fue penal, all this fucking shit, and like it was pretty hilarious. So I think I'd like to see like a biopic of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, like,
oh no, some other
like,
ones that
testimonial.
some other ones that popped into my head. Some other ones that popped into my head. Actually, I think both came out of the 2008 Olympics. I mean, you have like you could definitely do a movie on Phelps's 2008 Olympics. I mean, like being the one of the most decorated Olympians in 1 year. So you could do that would probably make a really good movie, especially like that coming off of like the cusp of that. It shouldn't have been a controversy, but it was a controversy of him like at a party smoking weed and stuff like that, and like him kind of like overcoming that image and stuff. But also
just real fast, let me say about Michael Phelps, like he's really an inspirational figure because he's like been super like promoting like mental health and like talking to a therapist and stuff like that. You see him on all those commercials, like he's like, hey, like I'm Michael Phelps and I have a therapist. So like he's very normalized that and destigmatized a lot of that, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like it comes out of that, and I mean, like I would definitely, like mental health is a lifetime thing. So that probably had played a factor in that kind of time and stuff like that. But also I think it was the 2008 women's gymnastics that essentially like they were kind of like coming in as like kind of underdogs against like China and stuff. And I remember like, and it was hosted in China, the 2008 Olympics, and then them essentially coming and sweeping the women's gymnasts with like she had Simone, Bailey,
Biles,
Biles, yeah.
There's okay, so there's some shady shit that actually was going on behind the scenes in that. I would recommend. There's actually a really good podcast about that ESPN 30 for 30 did about like the women's Olympic team. I would say check that out. It's more of a like a docu podcast than a biopic, but yeah, I think that could be interesting. It would but it would have to touch on some intense bigger issues.
Like on
like
the
sexual
team?
abuse and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
that was going on. That was really shady behind the scenes. But yeah, I think that would be definitely like a hard hitting, interesting movie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
on that note, that was thank you guys for checking this movie out. I'm glad you guys each took something away from it, and Alan, I'm glad I'm getting you to kind of like I know you're not a big sports guy, but I'm glad you do see like sports. Like I always say, like baseball movies are way better than actual baseball. And so, like, I think sports biopics work for the same reasons because baseball's like I know you love baseball, but baseball. Like I love baseball movies. I'm not a baseball fan. Like Moneyball is the fucking shit. But like, but anyway, like I'm glad I'm getting you to see the light on these sports movies, Alan. But thanks everybody for listening out there to our podcast. If you can give us a rating of 5 stars, that'd be awesome. Just or subscribe to us. We do a couple other podcasts. I do one called Gateway Episodes, and Ariel does one called You've Never Seen. And if you guys are interested at all, we do have a Patreon. And if you want to just throw us $1 a month, if it fell out of your pocket and you wouldn't notice it, and you feel comfortable giving us that same amount of money, just $1 a month on Patreon. And we got some bonus podcasts, including like we were talking about. We had a top 5 movies of 2020. But yeah, it was good talking about this with you guys. I'm glad I liked talking about the big swings, but I'm glad that the last couple movies we've done have kind of been more low key and down to earth and just kind of like more chilled movies. We did this and we did this is where you leave you. So it's kind of nice to kind of do something, go back and kind of do a different thing in the last couple movies that I've had a lot of fun with.
Definitely. I think what I'm planning on doing, because the next one's going to be my pick, I kind of want to do a film that I haven't seen personally, like, because I'm kind of going through my whole filmography, and like the thing is, I like what I like, and I'm like, not all of it's really underrated, and some of it's like probably not good, but some of it, I'm like, you know what? Like I have a big list, and like Battle of the Sexes, like I have a massive queue, and it was there. It was one of those films where I was like, if it's on TV or somehow end up watching it, I'll watch it. It was just one of those where I was like, it's not immediate. So I think what I'm gonna do is kind of be like Bobby Riggs and kind of just take a gamble on a on a film that I have on my queue and kind of look into it and be like, all right, people say this is underrated. Again, listeners out there, like, please give us suggestions. Please throw out what you think is underrated. Like we really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. And definitely, I would love to watch a recommendation from you guys. I mean, that'd be awesome, having a week of a listener's recommendation. So, yeah, definitely help us out a little bit. If you can't donate to the Patreon, throw out some recommendations, and we'll be more than happy to watch your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys just donating your time, because we know that's really valuable too, and listening. And if you want to throw out recommendations, we would love to hear them. But that's it for me, I guess. I'll see you guys in another life.
Bye. Thanks for being amazing.